morning, everyone. Can I ask you to take your seats, please? Okay, I think we're ready to get going. So I'm Stephen Forbes. I'm going to be facilitating today's event. So first of all, let me say a warm welcome to everybody who's come, particularly our colleagues from the Shoprite group in KwaZulu-Natal who've come out to see this today. Also representatives from the Department of Education and everybody else who's come to support this amazing initiative. And also, of course, the media, without whom these good stories would not be told. So just some housekeeping things that I'd like to run through. First of all, please, could you just put your phones on silent so that the proceedings aren't interrupted. The format of today's thing, we thought rather than bore you to death with long speeches, what we would do is try and do things a little bit differently and have a bit of a panel discussion. And I will introduce some of the people on that panel in a moment. We'll then, after the panel discussion, there'll be an opportunity for a short Q&A. We won't let it go on too long. There will be an opportunity for any of the media people who, if you would like to ask further questions or you want to do interviews or you want anything more, if you could please just let myself or any of my colleagues know. There are people here from the Shoprite comms team. If you would put up your hands, I think they've all just stepped out. But there are people around. Just ask one of us, and we will make sure that you get to speak to the right people. So once we're done in here, what we're going to go and do is go and visit the new robotics lab. There'll be a bit of a demonstration there, including one that's very topical, a football match between Moroccan and South African robots. Then we'll go from there. With the Shoprite group has also sponsored a consumer lab here, and we will go and have a look at the consumer lab as well. And then we will return here for some light snacks, and I believe there's also been some gaming arranged. So yeah, without any further ado, let me introduce the panel. Firstly, to my right, we've got Mr. I.C. Govender, who is the principal of the school. Then sitting next to him, Maud Modise, who's the Shoprite General Manager for Enterprise and Supplier Development and the Shoprite Foundation Managing Trustee. Then we have Oliswa Malangu, who is with Sifiso EdTech, and she is the head of digital learning and technology, but tells me that I should introduce her as the tech fairy. And then finally, Tyrone Bright, who's a mechatronic lecturer, mechatronics, I've got that right, lecturer at the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Durban University of Technology. What I'd like to do now is just invite each of the panelists, if you wouldn't mind, each just giving just a quick view on today's event, your involvement and why, perhaps starting with you, Maud.
Hi, Stephen. Oh, the mic is on. I think from our perspective, from the Shoprite group, as you would know, we're very involved in the communities that we operate in. We are a very big member of this community. Our DC is down the road. We've got a few stores around the area as well. And I mean, coincidentally, some of our people that work in our stores, their children come to the school as well. So, I mean, in true Shoprite fashion, when we were forming a relationship with the schools around the area a few months ago, we started handing out stationery packs to form relationships with the school. We then came across Ms. Governor in Verulam, and she told us about this initiative that DBE was piloting, which is coding and robotics in schools, and they were chosen as a pilot school. And they had already received training, but there was some infrastructure and a lot of resources needed in terms of getting the lab up and running. So that's where we saw that as Shoprite we could fill the gap and start engaging with the school in that way. And that's when we saw an opportunity. We visited Mountview as well and various other schools, and we decided to start with these schools to try and see what impactful difference can we make in this community.
And Mr. Governor, maybe you'd like to just say a few words.
Thank you, Stephen. Good afternoon to all present. Shoprite Checkers has come to our aid, our support, in view of the kind of curriculum we're offering at the school. And definitely, a robotics, IT is the future, and skilling learners with this kind of technology for the fourth industrial revolution is something that is important. It's very, very critical. Of course, when you look at robotics, or if you look at IT, you look at CAT, is offered in the FET phase. And we seem to lose the learners that are entering the school system, the secondary school, the GET. And a few years ago, we started in a ad hoc arrangement, identifying 40 learners from our grade 9s who will be going to grade 10 to choose IT or CAT. And we piloted the project. We found that there was a lot of interest, a lot of enthusiasm. And last year, we sent an educator of ours to Gauteng to train from the 8th to the 11th of December to be a trainer, a facilitator for robotics and coding. I'm pleased to announce that this educator will now be a panelist, will be a trainer for the province of KZN. And they will now be invited to train another 750 educators. So with the infrastructure and with the provisions given to us by Shoprite, it's going to really help us meet our objectives, where we're going to reach the grade 8s and 9s and close that gap. And I'm in conversation with the subject advisor for IT, and we are looking at piloting robotics on a more formal basis, where it's going to be structured into the curriculum. And we're also looking at getting our neighboring schools. We've identified 4 schools. That's the planning, that's the thinking. And these 4 schools will spearhead this program. We're looking at putting a curriculum together and structuring this program into the formal curriculum of the school. So I'm tremendously excited, and I am, as a school, we are absolutely grateful to Shoprite. Without whose intervention, these programs would take us a little longer. So this action gives us, the impetus to meet our objectives, and I'm thoroughly excited to see it off.
Super, thank you. And Tech Fairy, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what goes into these robotics kits.
So I'll start off with the labs. Just coming into a school, figuring out the infrastructure, the internet around it, the rooms that they're going to use, and making sure that they're conducive to learning coding and robotics. Sarah spoke about a curriculum. We also offer training for teachers and a curriculum. So not only do we train teachers how to use the robots, but how do you assess? What skills are you looking for? What projects do you give? And what are the tests that come along with it? So we offer that whole full service and competitions around it. So there's a whole ecosystem around coding and robotics, and we make sure that we connect teachers from around the whole country. We've trained teachers from around 7 of the 9 provinces and implemented labs all over the country. And being here today with Shoprite is such a blessing, because being in the KZN space and giving those resources to those students is just going to impact so many lives.
And Tyrone, I believe you've been involved in setting up a robotics lab on your own initiative, and also very involved in giving motivational talks and so on to schools. I mean, what is your sense and kind of where we are and how we play in terms of robotics education in South Africa?
Yeah, so first of all, I think what is happening here with Shoprite at Mountview Secondary is absolutely incredible. And there are really 3 points I would like to point out. One, when it comes to students, there is a huge deficiency we see at university level, and that is problem-solving skills. And that's what something like this does. It develops those fundamental skills that students need when it comes to going and living the real world, going and working in industry, going and researching. And that's what I think is so important. Secondly, I went on the Stats SA to look at the unemployment rate of young people in this country, looking at the throughput rates, looking at maths and science, and how many start in grade 1 and how many matriculate in grade 12. And the percentages are, in my opinion, a joke. Students are not carrying those subjects throughout. And I believe one of them is because there's nothing exciting about it anymore. Maths and science, especially when I was in school, it was words on a page, use this equation, not knowing what it actually meant, and giving out an answer. But having these types of labs like robotics, you can see, you can feel, you can touch, you can really become involved, and you can really see what maths and science can do. And that's what excited me at Varsity. So I think those are so, so important. Problem-solving skills, as well as being able to engage with maths and science in such a fun way, and to really inspire kids to come and do degrees such as engineering, such as medicine, such as aerospace. Those are all things that what the world is looking towards, what industry wants, not only here but overseas as well. And it's great to see these type of initiatives help drive that progress.
And Maud, so while today our focus is very much on the robotics laboratory, I know you have equipped a consumer laboratory here as well, and I know that also part of your work isn't just around education, but also around ensuring job opportunities and encouraging entrepreneurship. Could you explain maybe how these kind of initiatives fit into your broader goals and aims?
So maybe just a backstory to that. When we came to the school, we came to a consumer studies room, and it was so great to see what the kids were doing in that space. But one of the other things that the teachers were raving about was how this creates economic opportunities for the learners, because over weekends they would then go and start their own businesses on the side, whether it's baking for the community or starting to take little jobs on the side where they would actually, for sustenance, or some for just making money on the side for themselves and pocket money. So for us, that spoke very well to that really resonated with us, because that's what we do from a supply development perspective. We work with small suppliers and entrepreneurs who are really trying to get their products onto their shelves, or whether it's from a fresh produce perspective. So from a Shoprite group, we work a lot with those type of suppliers, and that's why that resonated so much with us, that it not only gives students and young learners the physical and practical skills that they might need if, well, after matric, they decide that they don't want to go to university, they want to start a business on the side. It pushes that agenda as well. So who knows, maybe in a few years' time, we'll have a learner out here who has a bakery or some other catering service and create jobs in the community.
Thanks. And in terms of both the robotics and consumer laboratories, I suppose, I mean, have you seen an uptick in enthusiasm and interest and so on from learners since you've started to renovate and refurbish these facilities?
Definitely. I suppose you can sense the buzz, and I think when Maud was in the consumer studies lab yesterday, the kids came in, they took a peek, my grade 12 learners doing consumer studies, and they were tremendously excited. So I suppose the new facility, like in any field, you know, it kind of musters confidence. It also says to learners, you know, we have good facilities where we can really do something amazing. Just to build on what Maud mentioned, you know, if you look at the unemployment rate in our country, I think it's well over 36% in the youth unemployment. There just isn't enough formal jobs out there, or jobs that government can provide. And so we have this mass exodus of learners from our schools, but they do cooking or culinary skills is one way to go, where these individuals will now become the creators of employment, where they can sustain themselves but also create employment. And I think if you look at the bigger picture, it's going to help our communities to feed themselves, sustain themselves. It's going to help the nation. And I suppose the testimony will be from our school. We had 2 candidates who finished off in that aging consumer lab, who end up completing the studies at chef school. So they are now entrepreneurs. So that's a good story to tell. And if we could create those learners with the kind of limited resources we have, I mean, the world is just, I mean, it's incredible what we can achieve with the kind of the new labs we have now, thanks to Shoprite. So I'm really excited. The learners are tremendously excited. My teachers, I mean, you could feel it. And I suppose it is an incredible journey and an incredible investment, an investment into the massive and the major assets of our country, which are the youth. And Shoprite Checkers have played its part, and we are really grateful for that.
Thank you. And I know that Safisa EdTech have helped create labs at various other schools in other provinces around the country and so on. What is your experience of that? I guess as you go, you learn more and more lessons. What are those kind of learnings and insights that you've gained from that?
We learned a lot of lessons. So before we started, it's a thing that you actually get to see in motion. It's a thing, so the science just really comes alive. You get to solve problems. A lot of the curriculum is centered around projects. So you're not just learning a skill for the sake of learning a skill, but you're actually solving a problem. You're negotiating, you're working within a team. You are getting your ideas shot down. So you're learning about rejection, you're learning about a real life skill. How do you handle that and how do you go on from that? Sarah also spoke about job opportunities. Tech is one of the spaces where you get 13-year-olds that are earning millions. They can go build something right now. It's not a skill that you need to wait for a long time. One of the projects that I still hold dear to heart wasn't even a robotics project, but it was an HTML project that the grade 8s did. And they had to go out into the community and actually work on websites for the community. So there was this amazing Kota website. So you could now go order your Kota on a website and just buy it from there. They were looking at small businesses. The small business had a virtual presence, and that was done by a 13-year-old. And it looked amazing. So tech and the skills around tech are very quick. They change very rapidly. The AI that's already in there. So giving students access to all those resources with that lab can really change the face of the world. The lessons that we are learning, we are actually putting them with every new iteration. We agile. we learn it in our lessons in class, but we also apply it to how we deal with each and every lab implementation.
Tarun, did you maybe, I know we were talking about similar things just earlier on, did you maybe want to pick up on some of that?
Yeah, so we talk about these amazing stories, and they're really a true testament of what robotics can really do. And I was talking to Mr. Forbes earlier to say that there's a school in the US, they've just implemented something which we call SolidWorks. It's a 3D CAD software which we use at university and people use in industry to design components and parts, whether it's for a car or a robot. And you've got grade 7 learners designing car parts already. And that, again, for me, shows the power of technology. We're in the world of artificial intelligence, big data, the fourth industrial revolution, as the principal obviously had already mentioned. And what is possible nowadays is unbelievable. We have all the tools at our fingertips. I was talking to a colleague of mine a few days ago, and you were talking about the 5 degrees for a robot, how different that is. If you launched a rocket here from Earth and you aimed it towards the moon, if you were 0.1 degree out, you would miss it by over 100 kilometers. Just because of how small that error can be, how big of a difference it is once you travel that far. And like the tech fair had already mentioned, being able to experience that, being able to feel it and touch it, and really, I think, build those skills with robotics. I just think it's a great thing to see. Thanks again to Shoprite for what you're doing here at the school. It's incredible. Yeah.
Thanks. And then maybe just a final question to you, Mo. Do you have any plans beyond this for similar facilities elsewhere?
Yes, we do, but we would like to see how this plans out and obviously get some learnings out of the project so that we're able to implement those learnings going forward. But I think it would also be a disgrace or a disservice, if I don't mention that, even with the little resources that the schools have, like the principal just alluded to now, at one of the schools in Verulam, Mrs. Governor just told us yesterday that even with those little resources and all the effort that they're putting in with the learners, last year they managed to get 14 out of 16 distinctions. So you can imagine that even with those small resources, I can't wait to see what the future holds for these two schools and how much good work is going to come out of here.
Okay, thank you. So I think we'll leave the panel discussion there. Does anybody have any questions? Please, Paul.
Good morning, everybody. My My name is Paul Koka from the Sunday World newspaper. I just have one question. Why a robotics laboratory? Why not build a computer lab or a science lab? So I just want to understand why a robotics laboratory, what makes that unique? Why not a science lab or a computer lab? Thank you.
Well, I can take that a bit because, I mean, there are computers in the lab, so it can be multifunctional. So you can use it together with the robotics, or you can use the computers as its own. So it works both ways.
And also to add on to that, the curriculum that will be done in the robotics lab is the coding and robotics curriculum. Robotics is a portion of the curriculum. There is a lot of other skills that they learn. There's programming, there's things around ethical use of technology. So the curriculum is quite broader. Robotics is a part of it.
Can I add to that? As I indicated earlier on, in the FET phase we have information technology, which speaks to programming, and it leads to careers such as computer engineering and those kind of fields. It's very, very specific. And then you have CAT, which is your computer applications technology, which teaches learners spreadsheets, Word documents. And in the world that we are in, every candidate or every individual needs to be familiar. They need to be familiar with IT. Now, when it comes to robotics and coding, it's introduced in the grade 8s and 9s. In fact, it's starting off in the primary schools so that no learner is left behind. So that when they do come to grade 10, then they can make an informed decision in terms of which path they want to take. The CAT part, or they want to go the route of information technology. But also remember, we are building on skills that kids already have. Because our children of today are tech smart. They will teach us a thing or two in terms of how to use a cell phone. But what coding robotics does, it also builds on existing knowledge. Schools currently in the GET phase, that is your grade 7, 8, and 9, are teaching technology and orthographic, where learners are drawing and so forth. Now that can be linked up to the computer. They can be linked up to computer technology. So robotics will teach them those skills. Further to that, we speak about accessibility to learning. Abstract learning is difficult. But if you look at robotics, miniaturization, and AI, we find that the learners are developing these skills at a very young age. So it is work in progress, and of course, it builds on existing skills, and it takes children into this new world order, the fourth industrial revolution, where they can seamlessly go into the corporate world or go into the world of work. So at Mountview Secondary School, of course, we have a vision. We have a vision in terms of ensuring that every learner that exits from the school has the basic skills to build on beyond secondary schooling. And we believe that our grade 8s and 9s, that's where it starts. The foundational skills, the foundational work needs to be done at that level, which will then be built on in the FET phase. So I think it's a very, very important, investment that is made by all parties. Okay, Shoprite being our partner, and this investment is going to pay off. If we do not make this investment, Mr. Forbes, then we need to ask ourselves the question: we don't invest in education, invest in schools like ours to further the objectives that is part of a vision or part of the NDP, the National Development Plan 2030. Then we need to ask ourselves the question: what is the price of ignorance?
And I think probably just to add to that as well, we talk about why specifically robotics, but robotics is a means to an end. It's a fun, friendly thing that a student understands. They can see physically moving. So the skills that they learn, whether it was you talk about computer skills, you learn those skills and then you actually see it. You can actually visualize, you can touch it, you can play with it. And you don't only learn coding skills, you learn about how to build a robot, how to construct a robot, how to problem solve around the robot. So it's actually just a vehicle. It's a vehicle to problem solve, to learn, to understand. It's not the focus, but it's a vehicle, a great way for students to be gravitated towards, to be attracted, to be excited about it. And I think that's what's so important. You know, when a kid hears the word robot, his eyes are wide and he's like, where, what is this, what is this? You know, it's just something that I think excites them from the inside, because everyone wants to see those things they see in sci-fi movies. You know, when you watch Star Trek or when you watch Our Robot, they see those things on the screen, they see those things on the TV program, and they want to see them in real life. Last thing I probably want to add is that sci-fi blends its way into what will happen, and today we are seeing a lot of the things in movies that we might have seen in the 80s and 90s coming to life. And that's what kids see as well, and they want to bring those things to life. So I think hopefully that answers your question.
Hi, good morning to the panel. My name is Session Mudliar from the Rising Sun newspaper. Just two questions, two-parter. The first one is, when we look globally, how far behind is South Africa when we compare to countries like India, Japan, Germany, for example, in Europe and the USA? Secondly, is government making a concerted effort to make sure that robotics or technology, AI, is part of the curriculum as far as mainstream schools are concerned? Because I see a private entity like Shoprite being involved in this heavily. I'm not sure which organization you're from as well, but the Department of Basic Education, are they serious about moving the curriculum forward in this particular way? Thank you. So
I'll probably ask the first part of the question with regards to where we are and with regards to the rest of the world. I've been fortunate enough to travel to Europe and the US to see what other schools, what other universities do and how they do it. And I'll be the first one to admit that, yes, we are years behind, if not a decade behind, what's going on overseas. But that shouldn't be something we should be focusing on. Or it should be something we're focusing on, but redirected as what then we should be striving for. You know, we can take the learnings that they have done and improve on it and better it. And that should be our, should not be our end goal. We should be bettering what they have done. You know, as I mentioned with what's happening in the US school, as well as it also happens in French school that I visited in June. So yes, we are behind, but I don't think it should be the thing that holds us back. We should use it as motivation to get us to where we need to go. And you know, we are thankful obviously to Shoprite for what they're doing here, and hopefully moving that pendulum and hopefully creating a level playing field when it comes to when our young students decide to go overseas and venture into different careers.
And also to add on to that, we are neither behind or in front. With all the countries, there's pockets of excellence. There's schools that are doing it really well. Even here in South Africa, there's schools that have had access to robotics from years ago, and they do it really well. And then there's schools that don't have access. So the playing field is not balanced. There's schools that have access to technology that the Chinese are already using now in South Africa. So it's not a level playing field. But also to add on to that, as you had said, learning how the people are doing it and taking those lessons and implementing it. As far as what government can do, government needs assistance with everything. We can start with just unemployment in South Africa. They've got the intention. The coding and robotics curriculum is scheduled to be gazetted in 2025. If you look at South Africa as a country, it's something that we are taking on, and we're saying it will be open to all public schools. If you look at countries like America, there are schools that are doing robotics. There are others that are not doing it. It's very easy for Africans to look at ourselves and say we are behind and all those things. But even in other countries, there's still that unlevel playing field. But as corporates partner with schools, we are opening those fields. We can't solve all the problems, but at least let's try. Let's do the things that we can do in the spaces that we can do them in.
I just want to add to that, working with learners, I can say to you that we have a pool of talent which needs to be untapped. And I think we need to believe, I think we need to be proud of what we have. I think some of the projects that our country has pulled off, in short space of time, is testimony to when people get together, nothing is impossible. And our children are eager, they are thirsty. And it's a matter of us now providing the avenues, providing the conduits to serve that interest and that hunger. And I suppose these projects, I won't call little, but I think it's a big investment, to the school environment, helps us to meet, those dreams of our children. So I'm very optimistic, and working very closely with our circuit, the Billionaire Circuit. We also have programs where we're also linking up with the primary schools, and where we are talking about, these are conversations we are having. So there's a lot of thinking in that direction, and I think with the kind of commitment from business, the kind of involvement of all stakeholders, I think South Africa is that they can get to the apex. So I think we need to believe, and yes, we are very, very critical of ourselves, but it's an uneven playing field that we are on. So I'm optimistic, and I'm excited about moving forward. And thanks to the Shoprite Group.
So on that note of optimism and excitement, sorry, I'm very, very conscious of time. I'm more than happy to take questions, but I think we need to get on and actually go and see the laboratories. So if you want to come to me, I'll make sure you get your question answered. But I think we need to go and actually see the facilities, because I don't want us to run out of time. So I'm sorry to call it there. They were very thorough answers to the questions. So, but thank you very much. And now, if you will follow us through, we'll take you up and show you the actual laboratories, and you can ask any more questions there. Thanks very much.
There's some people outside. Can we have this? Sure. We can go to the back, that side.
So what are you busy doing?
Coding. So this is just code how to make it move.
So first I'm going to take you through a brief presentation of what it is that we try to solve for, what the robotics will do, or what the lab will do, and what the learners will learn from this. And then we can take it from there.
Okay, welcome everyone. I think we found spaces to stand. As you guys walked in, I think you felt the fresh breeze of success, right? So we've got robots that are laid out on the tables. This is typically how the lessons will be happening. Students will work in groups, and they'll have robotics kits, and they'll be working at building different types of robots. If you guys can see the screen over there. So the robots that we have, the kits that we've got in this lab, we've got 3 different types of kits, and they've got multiple builds that they can build. You can see some of them on the table already. With the AI Smart Life Kit, these are some of the things that you can build there. But I think as I explained downstairs, it's not just about building these models, but what skills are they learning as they build these models? What maths integration, what science integration is happening as they build these models? And the final projects that they'll be working on is taking all these skills and merging them together. So working on actual projects that will merge everything together. We've got a soccer match here, down here. Would you guys be interested in demoing? You're just playing the match. You don't have to code anything. And this one, I choose you. Thank you. Amanda, can you play again? Who's Morocco? Who's South Africa? We need to know. You're South Africa. You're still in the running. So you control it just like a joystick. Just like a joystick. You need to score. If you're South Africa, you can't embarrass us. Yeah? You need to score. Find the ball and then you kick over here. Kick. Go get the ball and kick it through the goalpost. With that. Okay. So part of this is not just the soccer. There's an element of competition. There's an element of fun. There's competitions that happen for the robotic soccer. And it's just controlling a joystick. But how do you modify your robots to have better capabilities than the other robots, right? We've also got models there where you could be playing, okay, people are still playing soccer. But if you turn your attention to the front, we've got battle bots, right? Yeah. So, BattleBots. I'm sure we've all watched a game of BattleBots somewhere on the internet where robots are hacking at each other and trying to win. So these two would be competitors for BattleBots. And we've got our little fishy over here where we were just trying to learn the concepts of motors and servos. So we'll get our fishy to do a quick demo for us. Right, so learning how friction affects the system. which is quite a nice experiment that looks like a game. Like, I don't know how many times I get accused for playing as my job. Like, people think I just play, but there's so much learning that happens in a fun manner. We all learn better when we're happy. Right. And then I had another robot, I think, on that table that is just looking at, yeah, this one here. So this one here, I think as South Africans, when we ask what's a robot, we always refer to a traffic light, right? So this is one of the grade 8 builds, one of the first builds that they work on, which is just simulating a traffic light, getting those LEDs, coding the sequence to make it simulate a traffic light. That's, I think every South African thinks of it as a robot. You've seen people at the robot, right? And yeah, so that's just a simulation that's over there. The laptops also have software that just works with not just the robotics, but there's Python installed to help them learn how to code so that when they get to grade 10, they can choose IT. One of the things that we should be very aware of, our kids are already great users of technology. We don't want to be pushing the user mentality. We want them to be creators of technology, right? And as creators of technology, they need to have the skills, not just to consume, but to distill that knowledge and actually come up with their own things. So that's what happens as they learn how to code, and those these kits will also be used with that. And I think that's the brief of this room. I'll take any questions if there are any. We don't have questions.
Can I just say, we're going to be moving on to the consumer lab.
Yes.
We invite any of you who want to come back to the robotics lab afterwards to just come and chat more and to just get more demonstrations of whatever's going on here. Okay.
Okay.
Let's just go open the consumer lab and then you can come back.
You go there and you're more important than
We can do it one side.
Look this way. This way, smile. Thank you. Welcome to my kitchen. Huh? No, we got Shoprite to provide the ingredients. Yeah, we got Duran, who is the cook from the center. Right. He's a learner from the school.
He's from the school.
He's from the school.
Nice to meet you. So, please come here.
produce fantastic individuals like Verulam. And I suppose the thinking behind is, an individual at school was so closely involved in the project. In fact, she's my project manager, and this is Miss Rosamond Singh. This young lady was in contact with so that the shop family. We now talk to each other first name basis. It will be done. Dear people, if I say to you that over the last 2 days, they worked till about 1 o'clock in the morning to produce this outcome. And I think representative of Shoprite is also here to assist and guide. And what we're seeing is the end product of many, many months of planning, many, many hours of blood, sweat, and hard work, and the beneficiaries of this center will be our dear children. And I must say that Shoprite shareholders and I take a vow that you've done wonders. And we promise that the investment will be well used, and we will keep you in touch. We will keep you updated in terms of what we are doing, the projects, the progress, and Shoprite is a dynamic. Be honored by such dignitaries at our school, and this is one day I will not forget. And walking around like on air, that's why I said I am. And thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for making our dreams possible. And I can't wait to savor the culinary treats that will come out of this kitchen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to quickly give Duran an opportunity. He's a previous student of the school, and he just wants to share the importance of labs like the Consumer Lab and how it affects and inspires the pupils and the potential that lies in it through his own story.
Hi everyone, I'm Duran Naidu. I'm a former student of Mountview Secondary as well as this very class here. I took up the class in grade 10, where this is the classroom in fact where my passion was ignited for being a chef. I have some fond memories of some delicious stuff that we have done in this kitchen. But what sticks with me is I've learned a method of preparing a white sauce or a bechamel sauce in this very class. And even through university as well as industry, I still use the same method that I picked up in this class. And that stuck with me. And this clearly shows how important this class is or was for me as well as for future students taking up this class. I was groomed with vital theoretical and practical knowledge to set me up for my next chapter, which was university. I do thank the dedicated mentors of Mountview Secondary School who helped me achieve my dream of of becoming a chef. Visa Regessa, our consumer studies teacher, and the entire team of the Mountview Secondary School, who do their best, entire best to ensure that we be the best that we can be. Going through to university, I graduated with my BTech degree in hospitality catering management, and I was finally a chef. Leaving university, I worked in various establishments in the Durban area, namely the Hilton Hotel, the Durban ICC, Suncoast Casino and Hotel. Was at the Suncoast Hotel, where I served as a sous chef at the hotel. After many years in the industry, gaining experience and grooming myself to become a good leader, my wife and I decided to take a leap of faith and open up our own catering company called Mustard Seed SA. Please check us out on Facebook and feast your eyes on some delicious and amazing functions that we have done with my team and I. Till this day, I still use my knowledge and my motivation from the school and this very class to motivate my very own team. So with that all being said, I am extremely proud to be standing here in a newly revamped kitchen, which before when we started, we had minimal resources, but we made do with it. And together with the dedicated mentors of Mountview Secondary School, will aid and motivate all the new students of becoming chefs and young business owners. Thank you.
Just a quick rundown. Obviously, you can see this is where all the magic will happen. Storage section installed with cold storage facilities, and behind here there's a prep area and more storage. So if you wanted to take a quick look around.
Okay.
And for those of you,
You've got a camera. So we go back. Yeah.